Lesson 10 for November 30 through to December 6, Worshipping the Lord, read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Sunday, December 1, Singing the Songs of the Lord. Question, read Nehemiah chapter 12, verses 27 to 29. Notice some of the key words that reveal what their worship and praise was like. How would you describe it? Nehemiah 12, beginning at verse 27. Now at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought out the Levites in all their places to bring them to Jerusalem to celebrate the dedication with gladness, both with thanksgivings and singing, with cymbals and stringed instruments and harps. And the sons of the singers gathered together from the countryside around Jerusalem, from the villages of the Nephalites, from the house of Gilgal, and from the field of Geba and Azmaveth, for the singers had built themselves villages all around Jerusalem. The Israelite nation had commissioned a specific class of the Levites to be singers and musicians for the temple services. God directed the practice and gave instructions for the service, as the temple worship was to be beautiful and professionally performed. King David had organized this practice into a more elaborate and magnificent system than had previously been done. Therefore, the descendants of Asaph, whom David had appointed as the leader of worship in the temple, were still designated as it says in Nehemiah 11:22, the singers in charge of the service of the house of God. Question, look up 1 Chronicles chapter 25, verses 6 to 8. What does this teach us about how central and important music was to their worship and their singing the songs of the Lord? 1 Chronicles chapter 25, beginning at verse 6. All these were under the direction of their father for the music in the house of the Lord, with cymbals, stringed instruments, and harps for the service of the house of God. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman were under the authority of the king. So the number of them, with their brethren, who were instructed in the songs of the Lord, all who were skilled, was 288. And they cast lots for their duty, the small as well as the great, the teacher with the student. The singers were Levites and therefore officially assigned to the temple. Thus, providing music for the temple services was their paid job. During the time of King David, a full-fledged music academy was organized, which he supervised. It had teachers and students, young and old, who worked in shifts in the temple providing music. Some were instrumentalists, others singers, yet others took care of the instruments and the garments used for the services. What was the purpose of such a professional organization? It served to develop talent and the vision of excellence in worship. Excellence must always be a goal in worship. Praises must come from the heart and be expressed in the best way so that people will be spiritually uplifted. One can assume that those musicians and singers who served in the temple were carefully selected to lead the worship service. And so to finish today, what are ways that you have experienced the joy of worship through music? In what ways is this important to you? This week's lesson has been read by Dr. Percy Harrold from Queensland, Australia. It is brought to you by Hope Channel, the Sabbath School Department, and through the services of Christian Services for the Blind. A video of this podcast also occurs on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.